the Beretta M9-22. Let's check it out. Beretta is the oldest firearm company that's still in existence. Over 500 years, Beretta, based out of Italy, has produced some really fine firearms. In fact, the U.S. military from 1985 actually up until present, until it's being currently replaced by the SIG M17 or P320. And so this has a really long tradition with American shooters and with the military. Now, because of that, these are very popular firearms. And if you already have a Beretta M9 or a Beretta Model 92, this is a perfect companion to train with. And what's even better is that it has 15+1 in the magazine, which puts it ahead of a lot of other 22 semi-automatic pistols. And I want to thank my friends over at GunProDeals for supplying the Beretta M9-22 for this review. Now, when you take a firearm design that shoots the 9mm, but then you bring it down to the 22 and yet retain all the same controls and everything else, it makes an excellent training tool. And that's one of the things that I'm really big about, is you're getting a lot of trigger time. Yes, there are some good and there's some bad. I mean, either way. But you're definitely learning all the fundamentals and you're learning your manual of arms. So the 22 may not be any cheaper, it's just that you shoot more. And so here we have the Beretta M9-22. Now there are a number of different models of this. This happens to be the polymer frame version with the aluminum slide steel barrel. It's a beautiful gun. It, again, looks just like its 9mm older brother. Let's go ahead and make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to drop the 15+1 magazine, which is unusual for most of your 22 long rifles. And then we're going to bring the slide back, and it's empty. One thing you'll notice, since we have the hammer back, is you bring your decocker down just like the original M9 or the Beretta 92 FS. Bring it back up for fire. Now it also comes in a 10-round option as well for states that are, again, are not so free. We're going to go ahead and put it back into the firearm. Now right here on the slide it says Model 92F, Type 91 M9A1 caliber 22. But you'll also notice that this says Made in Germany by Umarex, and Umarex makes a lot of really high quality 22 pistols and air guns for that matter, and they own the Walther Corporation, so it's a really good quality company, and this is definitely a sign of that. This is a double single action semi-automatic pistol. That means that when you pull the trigger, watch the hammer, it comes into the rear position and then you fire the first round. After that, the slide comes back and the hammer is in the rear position, so following shots are much faster and much easier. One of the things about the trigger pull is that, you know, it's definitely very crisp on the single action, but on the double action it's pretty heavy and long. So when we load the magazine and we drop it, you're going to have the hammer in the rear position. If we take and decock it, move this back up, we're now in double action. Subsequent shots, it's in the rear position. This does have polymer grips, and it is interchangeable with your standard M9 or Model 92. This is a blowback design, but honestly, it's the same takedown feature. It has a Bruton finish on the slide, which is what Beretta uses. The open slide design, just like the 92. And then, of course, you have your takedown lever here. You have your slide stop there. Your magazine release. I mean, everything is the same. Now, one of the things about the magazine, which I really like, is that it's a large open cavity, so it's really easy to get that magazine in. but there are polymer guides all the way down through it to accommodate this magazine, so it's almost like you have a magazine well already built in. Now, it only comes with one magazine, which to me, I would really like to see a couple, but they are available pretty widely. It does have the lanyard loop right here. We have straight serrations on the back and on the front. This does have the accessory rail, and it does have one slot. It does have 3-dot sights, but one of the things about this is that it does have a dovetailed front. You can change this out. In fact, it comes with a little bit of a lower front sight if you want to change it out for that. But these are windage adjustable. There's a little set screw, and you can move those over if you want. The decocker safety is ambidextrous on either side, and the magazine release you can switch to the other side. I mean, guys, just to be honest, this is exactly like your Beretta 92. Now here's the Beretta 92, and you can see pretty much the outline is about the same. You know, with the 92F, it does not have the accessory rail, and it does have a fixed front sight, so you can't change this out. As far as the weight goes, the Beretta 92 is heavier, but there is some added weight to the M9-22 just to kind of give it that same feel. And the Beretta M9-22, 28.2 ounces. The Beretta 92F, 35 ounces. We're going to be using CCI mini mags. They're my favorite, and if the gun works, it'll work with CCI. Picked these up, I believe, at Palmetto State Armory. Just good shooting stuff. Got a nice little catch right here, especially since this carries 15 rounds and not 10, which makes it really nice. So we'll pull that down. One downside is it only does have one magazine, so I would highly recommend getting a couple of extras. Now, taking the Beretta M9-22 down to the range, we had 0 malfunctions. I mean 0, and for 22, that can be an accomplishment. Now, obviously it looks just like its older brother, the Beretta M9 or the Beretta 92. And all the controls are the same. You know, I mean, it just feels like that's what you have in your hand. Until you pull the trigger. Very soft shooting, very easy on the hands. I love taking 22 out to the range, just that low recoil, that low muzzle blast. Very inexpensive to shoot, but what's really important, it gives you more trigger time if you like the Beretta 92, or if you just like to get out and shoot. And so it's really a pleasure to take this little firearm out to the range. But it didn't matter if it was me, if it was my good friend Robbie Wheaton, which is a pretty big guy, or my daughter Sarah Mack. I mean, it just seemed to fit the hand very well. One of the things about Beretta is just a very smooth action. I mean, that slide coming back, and with the full-size steel model, you're definitely getting a very slick pull. But even with the M9, it's still a very slick firearm. Plus, honestly, guys, when you're shooting 22, a lot of times they're scaled-down versions or smaller pistols. And having that full-size pistol in your hand, it makes it really fun to take to the range. You feel like you have a real firearm while you're shooting. Look at the trigger pull action. We're going to put in a snap cap because it's just not smart to dry fire your 22 that often. We're going to go ahead and drop the decocker so we can demonstrate the double action. Now, double action is much heavier than single action. We're going to go ahead and pull through it. It's pretty tight all the way through, and then you have your snap, reset right there. And then there's some take up, and then it breaks again. On single action, a little bit of take up, a nice break. Not super crisp, but not bad at all. Let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 9 pounds, 11.4 ounces, and that doesn't surprise me. Single action, 3 pounds, 5.3 ounces, and that's about what we were getting. Now, to disassemble the firearm, drop your magazine, bring your slide back into the rear position, and engage your slide lock. Right here on the other side, just push this in, and then bring your takedown lever down. This is exactly like your standard Beretta, and then it just comes right off. You don't have to pull the trigger. Here we have a little bit of a different setup. You have your recoil spring and guide rod. It is polymer. And then here we have the barrel. It is a blowback design, so it's a little bit different. You don't have the locking lugs right here. And so you can just see, and guys, this slide is really lightweight. Now the Beretta M9-22 is at the top, and then we have the 9mm version below it. You can see, I mean, there's definitely a lot of similarities between these two, and yet there are a lot of differences. Even here near the firing pin area, you can see that there's a lot of similarities. Now as far as reassembly, just drop in your barrel just like you would the Big Brother. Throw in a recoil spring and guide rod. Now this is a little bit different when you're bringing over your slide. Sometimes the barrel will catch out some and you just need to push your barrel back. I think it just lined up just right this time. Now my lever's not going, so I just push back on the barrel and then the lever turns. Now the barrel has kind of a matte finish to it. It's 5 1/4 inches. There are a number of different barrel lengths for this. One has a threaded barrel. Some have actually aluminum grips. So there's a number of different models, and you can get on GunProDeals and check it out. Again, there's just a number of different ones. And I believe this model right here runs $308. And there are some that run up into the $400 range. Now one thing that's a common thread through all the reviews I've seen is that these are just super reliable. And that's one of the things that we found. In fact, I saw one guy that had shot over 10,000 rounds through his Beretta M9-22. So guys, if you're a big fan of the Beretta 92, I think that this is an excellent companion. You know, 22 is a workhorse. It's something that you can use on a regular basis. Again, less noise, less recoil, less muzzle rise, less muzzle flip, and yet you have all the controls that are the same of the standard M9 or the Beretta 92 FS. And it's really nice to have that full-size frame. You know, it's not a small gun. This is a full-size pistol. And if you're going to train, really it's best to train as close as possible to the real thing. And I want to thank the guys over at GunProDeals again for sending the Beretta M9-22. This has been just a pleasure to take to the range. I really am a big fan of 22 because, again, it's just really cheap to shoot. And that really means that you just get to shoot more. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. And so the 22, while it may not be any cheaper, they have a Bruton finish here on the slide, which is what Brett...
Well, I didn't want to have to do any more work than I have to.
Understand.
We know that.
Millennial.
Yeah, that's me.
She said, okay, boomer.
Yeah, boomers. Look, I've already done these, okay? So back off.
Okay, so...
You don't want to do any more work than you
This
have
is
to.
the work that I had to do, okay? I'm proud of it.